Welcome to the Chairman's Perspective Podcast. Chairman.
Welcome back to the Chairman's Perspective. I'm your host, Van Turner, along with my steady co-host, DC.
Yes, sir, right here.
And what this show is all about is your Shelby County government working for you. So with that said, on today's show, we've got none other than the great Pastor Dr. Christopher Davis, Chairman of the Board of Trustees for the LeMoyne-Owen College in the heart of South Memphis, Tennessee. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Chairman's Perspective, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
KUDZUKIAN! Inside 901.
Inside 901. I am your host, Lieutenant Anthony Buckner. Here on Inside 901, we will unpack the vision of Shelby County Sheriff Floyd Bonner and the various divisions of the Shelby County Sheriff's Office.
We have a racial profiling policy at the Sheriff's Office. We adhere to it. We expect our officers to adhere to it.
Uniform patrols that provide police services to unincorporated Shelby County.
Inside 901. KUDZUKIAN!
Well, DC, I can feel it in my bones. This is going to be a fantastic show.
Same thing here, Doc. Same thing here.
Because today we have the one and only Reverend Dr. Christopher Davis, pastor of the St. Paul Baptist Church and chairman of the Board of Trustees for the LeMoyne-Owen College in the house. Welcome to the show, Doc.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to be here.
So let's get this off right. So, Dr. Davis, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you come to call Memphis your home, and did you attend LeMoyne-Owen College?
Well, now, depending upon who you're talking to, now, native Memphians may take issue with me identifying myself as a Memphian, but here's the deal. I grew up right across the bridge, right outside of West Memphis, a little place called Proctor. But whenever we went to town, we came to Memphis. So we did all of our shopping in Memphis. So
yes, sir.
So you might as well call me a Memphian. But actually, 20 years ago, I got the call to come to Memphis to serve St. Paul in the heart of South Memphis. So, and I've been here ever since.
Wait a minute, 20 years?
Been about 20 years.
That young cat over there, man.
No, man, I don't see that.
Proctor, Proctor, Arkansas?
Proctor, Arkansas.
Lord have mercy.
I thought you were just 25. Been pastoring 20 years, man.
You just got married the other day, didn't you? You know what, Pastor, Dr. Davis, one of those things about it, we know that you're pastoring full-time, and you're also the chair of the Board of Trustees for the LeMoyne-Owen College. Let me make sure I tag that D piece, one of the most historic HBCUs in our nation. Man, how do you do it?
Well, a couple of things. I increased my kids' allowance. That stopped them from complaining. And I've got a regular date night every week with my wife that stops her complaining. So that's normally how it works. But really, I mentioned earlier that I grew up in eastern Arkansas. I actually grew up in a little place called Proctor. Attended a little church called True Vine. And we didn't have a lot of college graduates in my church, but we had a few. And all of them went to school at either one of two places. They either went to the LeMoyne-Owen College or they went to Arkansas Baptist College in Little Rock. Wow. So whenever we talked about education, whenever we talked about supporting schools, it was always LeMoyne-Owen or Arkansas Baptist College. So for me, it's almost natural that I would be serving at the LeMoyne-Owen College.
That's good. So we know that LeMoyne-Owen College has had some challenges and there have been changes. And so what do you think is the future for LeMoyne-Owen College?
Oh, I think LeMoyne-Owen's future is bright. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, we won't pretend like we've not had challenges. Yeah. I mean, every HBCU has had challenges. In fact, oftentimes when I'm talking to some of my fellow board members, I share with them some of my stories from having served 10 years on the Board of Trustees at Arkansas Baptist College, having served 3 of those years. And when I look at some of the challenges we had there opposed to LeMoyne-Owen, what we face at LeMoyne-Owen is child's play.
Wow.
But I think the big thing becomes, of course, we get it. The board gets it. I'm sure you all get it. Yeah. But the big thing is helping those in Memphis and Shelby County understand we need LeMoyne-Owen.
Yes, sir.
Now,
that's right.
That's nothing against
Preach.
Rhodes or Christian Brothers or the University of Memphis. None of those good
right.
schools. And we appreciate that students can go to those places, but it does not change the fact that there is a tremendous need for the LeMoyne-Owen College and other HBCUs like LeMoyne-Owen.
Mr. Chairman, before you go, I know you're getting ready to go to another question, but Doc, one thing about it is, and people will say, well, now, wait a minute now. You're not a LeMoyne graduate. You're the chair of the board. You're not an HBCU person because I think we've talked about before, West Point and Arkansas. Mm-hmm. You're listening to the Chairman's Perspective powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. Now, as I was saying, Doc, one thing about it, a lot of folks say, well, now, how did you get from a space of West Point, Mr. Chairman, West Point and U of A out of Fayetteville? I think that thing's in Fayetteville, isn't it? Or was that the one in Little Rock? I think they got about 5 or 6 campuses. We're not going to talk about University.
I went to the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville. Go Hogs.
Yeah, that's what I thought they called them. Go with it.
Razorback.
So you become a Razorback to a magician. How does that work? I mean, how did that work?
Well, I tell you the truth, and of course, I'm a proud alum of Arkansas. But I'll tell anybody, and even even attended West Point.
Yeah.
It was not a heart decision. It was a financial decision.
Yeah.
In fact, I was sharing with the chairman at the break. Of course, I always wanted to be a Morehouse man. So if I'm jealous of anything, the chairman,
Lord, wait a
it's the
minute.
fact that you're a Morehouse man. But of course,
Did you have to really throw that in there?
I had to bring it.
You know the chairman was a Morehouse grad.
But it was it was a financial decision.
Yeah.
So of course, I had to. Of course, I was a first-generation student. I was the first one in my family to ever go off to college. So I had to go where the resources were available. So that's how I ended up there. But I think that's part of the reason I'm so committed to HBCUs. Because as I look at my own life, having been reared by my grandparents, my grandfather had a 3rd grade education. My grandmother had a 10th grade education. Had it not been for the gift of education, I wouldn't have gotten out of Proctor, Arkansas. I probably grew up driving a tractor on Horseshoe Lake just like my grandfather.
And there's nothing wrong with driving a tractor on Horseshoe Lake. That's if that's what you want, right?
That's what you want.
That's what you want. That's something more.
That's not what I had in mind.
Yeah, you didn't want to drive that tractor. Huh?
Right. So so of course, recognizing the importance of education and benefiting from it, my commitment is to do all that I can to help young people, specifically young people that look like me, to take advantage of a college education. And when you look at institutions like the LeMoyne-Owen College, those institutions are jewels in terms of making that happen. And I tell people, going to the LeMoyne-Owen College does not mean you can't go anywhere else, but there are some things that are unique about HBCUs opposed to PWIs in terms of the relationship with the faculty, the classroom size, this sense of family. It's got to keep in mind, even though, Memphis is a growing urban area, we still have young people in this city who have never interacted with anyone who doesn't look like them. They've come out of places with 10 or 12 students in the class and so forth. So to send them to the University of Memphis to a lecture hall with 600 other students, it becomes overwhelming.
Been there, done that.
And those students get lost in the crack. They still need to be in places and spaces where when they leave school and go to church, they look across the sanctuary and see someone who teaches at LeMoyne-Owen. Or they go to the grocery store and see someone else who works at LeMoyne-Owen, who is prepared to say to them, "Don't make me tell your mama that you missed class last week." Some students require that. And for those that require that, we need schools like LeMoyne-Owen.
I agree. Community collaboration. So, as stated, LeMoyne-Owen College, the LeMoyne-Owen College, is in the heart of South Memphis. There's a lot of development occurring around LeMoyne-Owen. You got Stacks, the museum, the school. My church is there, Metropolitan Baptist Church, across the street.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was born and raised. So, are you partnering with the community of Soulsville to assist with the mission of LeMoyne-Owen College?
Absolutely. We see LeMoyne-Owen as an integral part of Soulsville. As a matter of fact, and I don't want to sound arrogant, but of course, from where I'm standing, Soulsville is in the community of LeMoyne-Owen versus,
Preach
that.
that.
I mean, that's the way we see it. But
Yes,
of course,
sir.
we partner with Soulsville. We partner with the LeMoyne-Owen CDC, the Neighborhood Association, people who have lived in that community for years on top of years, the county commission, the city council, anyone who has a love for South Memphis, more specifically LeMoyne-Owen, we are open to conversation, collaboration, and partnership because we know we can't do it by ourselves.
Well, hold up right there, Doc. Let's put a pin in it right there. We'll be right back after the break with more on the Chairman's Perspective and Dr. Chris Davis, Chairman of the Board of Trustees for the LeMoyne-Owen College.
The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Hey, I'm Williams Brack, co-host of Grind Set. The insight you gain from us and our guests will motivate you to take the leap into entrepreneurship. Make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast provider.
Grind Set on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
This is Pastor Christopher Davis of St. Paul Baptist Church, and part of my job is keeping people informed, and that's what I want to help you do, stay informed. The best way to do so is to check out the Chairman's Perspective by going to KUDZUKIAN.com or just download the KUDZUKIAN app by visiting the App Store or Google Play.
And welcome back. I am Van Turner, host of The Chairman's Perspective, and I'm here with the current chair of the Board of Trustees for LeMoyne-Owen College, Dr. Chris Davis, and my co-host, DC.
Yes, sir, right here.
So, Dr. Davis, when we left the last segment, we talked about community collaboration and how you're working with the community. I know that as a commissioner for Shelby County, we did make an allocation towards LeMoyne-Owen College. I think it was $250,000, and it was hopefully one of many allocations to LeMoyne-Owen College. But I have great love for the college. I was actually an adjunct professor there.
Wow.
So when I first started out practicing law, I was kind of teaching on the side, as they say.
Well, we need to get you back over there.
Get his side hustle back over there.
My side hustle. I taught business law and other things, so really enjoyed my time there. And so I know that we've done this one allocation of $250,000. Where else can we help? I know those funds are going to a great purpose for LeMoyne-Owen College, but as listeners are thinking about it, and as community stakeholders are looking at LeMoyne-Owen College, where else can they help? Where's the need?
First of all, let me thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the other commissioners for the gift to the school. Of course, as you know, we are seeking to position ourselves at LeMoyne-Owen as catalysts in that community. We want to demonstrate what we want to see happen in that entire community in terms of the beautification of the campus and so forth, so that people take pride in that neighborhood. And when you look at our physical plan, I mean, there's no great secret. I mean, we could use a couple of coat of paint and so forth. And so the gift that you all gave certainly will help us start to move in that direction. But Mr. Chairman, back to what you're mentioning in terms of where our listeners could possibly help. What we need probably more than anything as it relates to the students are scholarship dollars.
Yes, sir.
You know, what we need more than anything are scholarship dollars, particularly for those students who get within 12 to 15 hours of graduating. Many of them, here's what a lot of people don't know, and we see this a great deal at HBCUs. If a student shows up as a freshman and they're taking remedial courses, those remedial courses don't count toward graduation, but they eat up your financial aid proceeds. So students may take a semester or a year remedial courses to get them ready to do well in college. But by the time they get to be a senior, they've used up financial aid dollars on the front end. So now all of a sudden we've got a senior that's 15, 21 hours within graduating, and no financial aid is available. So we have to have dollars for what we call those last mile scholarships. Those students who are almost there, they just need a little push and a little financial aid to get them over the finish line. That's what we need more than anything, those type of financial dollars to get those students over the hump.
I love it, and the community is listening, and we know where the need is, and we appreciate the fine work that you all are doing. And I want to give a shout out to Commissioners Reginald Milton. I think LeMoyne-Owen College is his district, and he's a graduate.
And he's an alum. That's right.
And Commissioner Mikael Lowry.
Oh, wow.
He's on the board with you.
He's on the board. He's an alum. He's a committee. That's right.
What they call it? Just too heavy. Just like Court B. Trust. Too heavy hitters. Is that what it is?
That's right. That's right.
You're listening to The Chairman's Perspective, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
So can the community come back? Of course, as stated, I attend Metropolitan Baptist Church, grew up there. I remember LeMoyne-Owen Gardens across the street from the college back in the day. And so that community has changed, and it seems like it's right at the precipice, as they say. It's right there about to blow up. I mean, Stacks is good, and folks are coming in and buying up properties. And is this community going to come back? Is it going to flourish again in your estimation?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I've mentioned that I've been in St. Paul now for the last 20 years. Well, interestingly enough, we've been in Whitehaven now for the last 12. But when I came to St. Paul was located at 1144 East McLemore in the heart of South Memphis, just a couple of blocks from LeMoyne. And I don't mind telling you, of course, we love Whitehaven. We do great work in Whitehaven. But if I had known then what I know now,
you stayed in South Memphis.
Listen, even if I had gone to Whitehaven, we'd be one church in two locations. We would still be in South Memphis, because if you look at the way our city is growing, what we now call South Memphis, I've got a sneaking suspicion it won't be long before we call that downtown.
I hear you.
The way we look at the
Yes,
way
sir.
the city is spreading
Yes,
out, the city is growing.
Right.
And so that's why it's so important that we say to those individuals in South Memphis community, don't go anywhere.
Hold on to that
Hold
property.
on to that property.
That's right.
And that's the reason we're calling on the community. Listen, help us, partner with us at LeMoyne-Owen, because see, we look at it as a jewel, as an institution that shapes lives, that trains young people. Other people look at LeMoyne-Owen and see it as a jewel because of the ground that it sits on.
Yeah.
That is prime real estate.
It is.
That's
Sure
prime
is.
real estate.
Well, speaking of prime real estate and speaking of South Memphis as a community, I grew up in South Memphis, Vance and Orleans, and it wasn't. Matter of fact, in college sits on Orleans. This was way, way, way back for our time, guys. But how do you all, as a college, integrate a lot more of the South Memphis residents into the life of the college? In other words, how do you get me? Let's just say I may live on Keel or what have. How do I say, you know what? I don't go there, didn't have a kicker, but LeMoyne is our college. It's in our community. We got to do more.
And one of the things that we have to be intentional about as trustees, as faculty, staff, administration, we have got to create a climate and a culture around this idea of an open door. We have to become a community asset, not just to those young people that are going to college. What we're sort of envisioning is we've got individuals in South Memphis in terms of job readiness, in terms of getting GEDs. We want to take advantage of the facilities, the buildings that are there, open those buildings up to individuals in that neighborhood to come and better themselves so that they will view themselves as stakeholders in LeMoyne-Owen College. So it's not just the alum who are saying we got to keep it open. We want to arrive at a place where everyone who lives in South Memphis says we've got to keep our school open. We want them to identify with LeMoyne-Owen.
You're preaching, Doc. You're preaching.
That's exactly right. Now, talking about community partners, I know that FedEx has a partnership with LeMoyne-Owen College. Could you explain that a little more?
Absolutely. FedEx partnered with us. In fact, FedEx gave us $1 million gift. Gave us $1 million gift specifically for IT. Now, and of course, and we don't want to sound ungrateful, but the reality is when you start talking about IT and the rate at which it's changing and so forth, it take millions with an S in terms of, because even as we look at some of the things that are going on right now, one of the hottest things going on in this country right now is cybersecurity. Everyone is interested in cybersecurity. We've got students at LeMoyne that are interested in it, which means we have got to we've got to upgrade our IT and put the equipment in place so that those students who are interested in that can come to LeMoyne-Owen and train for those jobs in the heart of South Memphis, can train for those jobs in cybersecurity.
Right there, LeMoyne-Owen College, the LeMoyne-Owen College, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I tell you what, hold on a minute because you got a whole lot of information. Both of you chairmans, right? We'll be right back with more of Chairman's Perspective right here on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Chairman. The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Hey, I'm Williams Brack, co-host of Grind Set. The insight you gain from us and our guests will motivate you to take the leap into entrepreneurship. Make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast provider.
Grind Set on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
We are back with the Chairman's Perspective, and today we're talking about the LeMoyne-Owen College in South Memphis and the limitless possibilities with the chair of the Board of Trustees for LeMoyne-Owen College, Dr. Chris Davis, and my co-host is here, DC.
I'm sitting right here along with both of these two chairmen. Well, I tell you.
Now, Dr. Davis, there's been a change in leadership. We all know and love Dr. Carol Johnson Dean, and she is the interim president for LeMoyne-Owen College while you all are undergoing a search.
That's correct.
And I know you can't divulge much, but tell us what you can.
Well, first of all, we are elated to have Dr. Johnson Dean at the helm. Of course, she is no stranger to Memphis, having served
or this show,
or this show,
right.
Having served Memphis City Schools as superintendent. I mean, when the board started thinking about candidates for interim president, of course, Carol was on the board with us.
Oh, wow.
And she was not, by no means was she campaigning or politicking, but as she was trying to pull back, we were trying to pull her in.
Y'all just looked at y'all looked down the table and said, well, who we looking for? She was at the end of the table.
Exactly.
And she was, no.
Well, we needed someone who knew Memphis.
Yeah.
We needed someone who knew education.
Yeah.
We needed someone who had a relationship with the philanthropic community here in the city.
Yes,
and when we looked at what our immediate needs were, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Carol was right there. And of course, this is actually her first week
wow.
officially on the job, but she went to work as soon as we named her.
Yeah.
And we can already start to sort of see the results as she's sort of stabilizing the ship. So we're just excited to have Carol at the helm. But you asked about the search. Of course, where we are right now in this process, we are actually forming the search committee as we speak. We've got a meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks to finalize that process, sort of thinking through, what do we need in our next president? What are we sort of envisioning? We want to take a long, hard look at where we are, where we're trying to get to, and what skills are associated with getting us there. Mm-hmm. And we're going to let that sort of drive our search.
That's great.
Well, you know what? One thing about it is, and I think that when you always throw out this big net in terms of, and guess what? There's a lot of good, talented, young talent out there, I believe, that would do well at LeMoyne-Owen College. I don't want to throw a name out there, so I won't do anything about the search. I'll just submit my letter of recommendation, Dr. Davis, when it comes down to that. But tell me one of the single greatest reasons a parent or a potential student ought to say, I want to consider the LeMoyne-Owen College.
I think when we think about why parents ought to consider the LeMoyne-Owen College, particularly for those who live here in Memphis, first of all, we value relationship. Yeah. When we talk about we're family, that's not just a slogan. That's a reality. That's who we are. From the president all the way down to the custodian, we are a family, and we try to look out for our own. And then here's the other thing. Interestingly, when you look at STEM right now is the hottest thing going. So when you talk about engineering, math, and so forth, what most people don't recognize is the greatest percentage of African Americans who are graduating in STEM-related fields are still graduating from HBCUs.
Wow.
They are still graduating from HBCUs.
The story hadn't been told.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The story hadn't been told. And if you got that number of graduates, and we got a city in Memphis, in the city of Memphis, with major corporations like FedEx and all of these folks, we got a tremendous healthcare area here with St. Jude, Methodist, Baptist, all of these places. Memphis is a magnet, right, Mr. Chairman? It's a magnet for these STEM graduates. And to go through LeMoyne, Dr. Davis, would be, to me, phenomenal to say that we got our kids that are going to stay here. They're going to be employed here. They're going to have careers here. They're going to pay taxes here. And they'll have their families here.
Now, the chairman asked me a little earlier in terms of what supporters could do. And, of course, I mentioned scholarship dollars. But then, of course, when you mention FedEx and all of those places, here's the other thing that our young people, our students and graduates at LeMoyne-Owen need. They need internships.
Yeah.
So as people are tuning into the podcast, our young people need internships. They need practical work experience.
Yes, sir.
Because, of course, I've got 5 children myself. I've got 3 in college and 2 at home. And I know, tell me about it.
You got to keep preaching, Doc.
I thought you knew.
That's why you stick around and listen to the chairman's perspective, right? Because you got to keep it up.
But here's the reality. I've told all of my kids and the young people at the church, we've arrived at a place where a 4-year college degree is a high school diploma with a gold star.
Speak, sir.
You're right.
It's a high school diploma. You got to go to grad school.
You got to do something.
You've got to have practical experience. You cannot show up on an interview with nothing more than a 4-year degree. You have employers are looking for someone with hands-on practical experience in that field. That's why we desperately need internships for our young people. So not only do they show up with a quality education and a degree, but they show up with some practical work experience.
Work world experience.
I love it. I just read down in Atlanta at CAU, there was a block party and 2 students were shot, 2 female students. I think at CAU and the Spelman had 2 students that were shot. Everybody's okay, but just speaking of negative issues, sometimes with our African-American institutions and African-American elected officials, the media seems to pounce on us a little longer than other persons and other institutions. And, how has LeMoyne-Owen dealt with some of the negative things that have happened? And for me, I'm going to love LeMoyne-Owen College because I'm going to love another HBCU, and it's in the HBCU family. But what are some of the ways that y'all dealt with some of the negative press?
Well, one of the things that we've continued to try to do, of course, we don't deny or downplay the fact that we've had some challenges.
Yes, sir.
But of course, one of the things that we continue to encourage our students, our parents, our supporters, our well-wishers in terms of we have to control the narrative.
Yes, sir.
Because at the end of the day, whether you talk, Local news media, they want viewers.
Yes.
The newspaper, they want to increase their readership. And we like sensationalized stories. So we have to recognize if it's our story, then we have to control the narrative.
And you tell your story.
We have to tell our story.
Yes, sir.
So when people want to tell a negative story, we have to immediately rebuff that with the good stuff that's going on at LeMoyne-Owen.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what, Mr. Chairman, you don't mind. I want to throw this one thing out there. At this time, Dr. Davis, this is your pitch time. Pitch this thing, knock a home run, because there's some folks out there in South Memphis that are going to hear this podcast, and they're going to say, look, number one, I didn't know, but now I know. I'm going to do better, and I'm going to try to help. And then you get those parents across the country that are going to hear this podcast and say, you know what? I need to consider LeMoyne because at least the chairman's got to speak. Pitch that thing. Knock it out the ballpark.
For those of you that are listening, it's real simple. We've already talked about the importance of an education, but you want to send your young person somewhere where they will be shaped as an individual. They won't just have what my grandmama used to call book sense and no common sense. We're interested in shaping the entire person.
Amen.
We're interested in producing young men and women who are literally focused on transforming the world. We're not trying to help young people get degrees so they can get on a job and go to work. Yeah. We're trying to inspire and motivate young people to go forth and literally transform the world. Now, we've heard this before, but I believe that the next Barack Obama is on the campus of LeMoyne-Owen College. I believe the next Michelle Obama is on the campus of LeMoyne-Owen College. When you look at our faculty, they're world class. When you look at our staff, they don't come any better. When you look at the alum and look at the graduates of LeMoyne-Owen College, it is without question that we are still one of the best colleges, not just the best HBCU, but one of the best colleges in this country. And I'll challenge any parent anywhere, send your child to LeMoyne-Owen College. And if we don't send you back a better adult that you can be proud of, then pray about it.
Well, Doc, you certainly have blessed us. You've taken us to church, and you ain't even at St. Paul.
Wait, listen, I'm going to get this offering then before I go.
Wait a minute. I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. I got to go to the bathroom.
You know, I'm Baptist, too. I know what you mean. You got to have 2 or 3 offerings.
Oh, Lord. I got some deacons in the room. Look, I'm Methodist, so, you know, we don't ask.
Man.
We won't hold it against you. We won't hold it against you.
Let's get us out of here.
Well, let me say, in all seriousness, Dr. Davis, you are a blessing to the LeMoyne-Owen College. We appreciate your leadership, your enthusiasm, and your insight into what the college is doing, where it's headed, and we just appreciate you. And on behalf of the chairman's perspective, we just want to thank you.
Well, listen, let me, DC, Mr. Chairman, the KUDZUKIAN Network, listen, I want to thank you all because every time we get an opportunity to talk about LeMoyne-Owen and the good stuff, that puts us in a better position to recruit another student and to change another life. So thank you all for affording me this opportunity to talk about the LeMoyne-Owen College.
We've had another great show, DC.
That's right, sir.
We know more about LeMoyne-Owen College than when we first began. We know about the county's commitment to LeMoyne-Owen College, and we know what we can do to assist the college going forward. We talked about the interim leadership of Dr. Carol Johnson.
Dean. She got married. Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew that.
Good lady, man. Good lady.
Yeah. And, you know, just the vision for LeMoyne-Owen College going forward. And so we all love LeMoyne-Owen College. It is part of Memphis. And we need LeMoyne-Owen College to be successful. I think that was the message.
Successful, not only LeMoyne, but then when LeMoyne is successful, South Memphis is successful. Think about it.
Memphis is successful.
Memphis is successful.
Shelby County is successful.
The state of Tennessee, the world is successful because we're turning out what? Some good college-trained people who are ready to do what? To take on. When you get ready to come out of the chairman's seat or out of the commission seat, you don't want to be there forever.
No,
you
sir.
need some good trained folks ready to step up and lead.
I think Dr. Chris Davis made us all musicians today, and we appreciate him.
Well, I'm still ready to pass the plate. I ain't got no money, though. I might have to send something in later on. I'm going to mail him something.
Well, we've enjoyed this show. We hope that you would join us next time on The Chairman's Perspective, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
The Chairman's Perspective Podcast. Executive producer, Shelby County Commission's Van Turner. Hosted by Chairman Van Turner Jr. and Darrell DC Catron. Recorded at KUDZUKIAN Studios. Directed, produced, and distributed by KUDZUKIAN.